Welcome to the Hockey Huddle, the ultimate podcast for hockey fans by hockey fans, where we break down the latest on and off ice from power plays to game-changing trades. Whether you're a diehard fan or new to the sport, we've got all the action, analysis, and hot takes you'll need to stay in the game. We'll bring you exclusive interviews with other fans, weekly breakdowns, and everything you need to know from the NHL and beyond. So lace up your skates, grab your stick, and let's drop the puck on today's episode of the Hockey Huddle. Here we are, the Hockey Huddle. This is the post-trade deadline edition, and you know what? We were talking right now. We need to start talking about Connor McDavid and Nathan MacKinnon. I was telling you a little bit about what I saw. Jay, I interrupted you to press record, so let's go. Let's talk about McDavid.
Okay, man. So I've been saying this all the time, and people go, you know, he's the best player on planet Earth. He does all this stuff. But the thing with McDavid is, the thing that separates him, that makes him so good, is his actual speed, his foot speed. This guy is so super, super fast. It's amazing. But the problem is, his brain's not going as fast as his feet are going. And a lot of times when he gets down, beat everybody out, he's there. He doesn't know what to do with the puck, or he's like, holy shit, I'm here. How'd he get here so fast? And he's like, and he just does something. And it's never thoughtful. It's lucky.
He has to circle around so his brain catches up with him.
Right? Someone's going to teach this guy how to speed up with his feet. Guy's a super, super talent, but he's nowhere near. Like, I don't think he's the best player. I never thought he was, but over this past season, with us doing the podcast, Rick's brought this player up, and I started watching him a lot more. And I think, go ahead, you can say it, Rick, who the player is.
Nathan MacKinnon, this guy is an animal. Like, he is strong and fast, and we were just talking. The guy's got his stop and start, so he goes from stopped to full speed to stopped to reverse to full speed and reverse, and leaves guys just standing there going, what just happened? Where they scored? I just saw a flash of a white jersey go by me, and I was, man, this guy is a talent. I watched him, so I was at the game, Calgary versus Colorado. There was guys like big bodies on MacKinnon trying to push him into the boards, away from the net. And there was a big hit on him in his zone. And I'll tell you what, this hit would have knocked down and caused a considerable amount of shit for a lot of teams. Like, there have been people jumping in to try and like back up their player. Didn't even knock him down. He kind of did the arm up and caught his balance and grabbed the puck and kept going.
Wow.
What? This guy
crazy.
is a beast. So as good as he is and as amazing a player as he is in the offensive zone, until he wants to be visible, he's kind of invisible. But the second he's got that puck, man, you know he's there, and everybody's kind of watching for him. But he does a good job. Like, he's very deceptive in the offensive zone, especially if you're watching the play. And he plays with Natchez, who is, dude, like that guy. I underestimated that guy. Big, strong, mean, fast, hands. Man, like, just... Yeah, he's the MVP last year for a reason. Likely the MVP this year. I think he just broke 100 points the other night, so he's the first player over 100 this year. Unreal.
He's great.
Just
he's
unreal.
great.
Yep, go.
So I was going to say he's great. I was going to say, Craig, what's your take on MacKinnon?
Outstanding player. Him and Crosby grew up in the same small town in Nova Scotia. I'm sure he learned a lot from Sydney when Sydney first started, and they train together all summer long. They skate together. These two guys are two of the greatest hockey players on the planet.
Yeah,
and that's probably why.
Is MacKinnon from Cole Harbour?
Yeah, they both are.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Of all the towns in the world to turn out two of the greatest hockey players of all time, Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. And to talk about just the kind of gear shifting, and that's kind of where we went. We went with McDavid goes from like 1 to 5, and there's nothing in between kind of thing, right? Where MacKinnon, he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up, down, reverse, like you said. It's sort of like that. I don't know if you guys remember that episode from Friends where Courtney Cox is trying to teach Chandler Bing and Joey what to do for a woman. And she goes through the 7 steps, right? She goes, and this is what you do. You go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 1, 2, 7, 7. And she does. Remember that episode?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what MacKinnon does, man. This guy is scoring all the time. He's super smart. This year, like, he's always been there, but blow my mind. Wow, how I'm very, very, very impressed. I was already impressed with him before, but like blow your mind impressed now. And when they played against the Leafs, wow. you're right. When we first saw that game with Natchez and McKinnon and that crew, unreal.
Well, and now they've got Charlie Coyle's on the roster now. Brock Nelson's on the roster now.
Mhm.
So from a winners and losers standpoint on the trade deadline, Colorado is definitely in my winners group. So I've got a couple winners and a couple losers in the group. Man, they made a good team, a significantly better team. But when you look at who they have to go up against now, they've got to get through Dallas.
Mhm.
And
Dallas was good too.
I think Dallas is probably the winner of the trade deadline, or pretty darn close. If you think of that, now they did trade a ton to get Rantanen. So Dallas traded for Rantanen. They traded Logan Stankoven, 2 first-rounders, 2 third-rounders. Now, Logan Stankoven is a good center prospect, tons of potential, lots and lots of upside, and I think he's on a bargain contract for another year before he's going to get paid, get paid.
Yeah.
Man, they brought Rantanen in to a very good team. That's trouble. That's trouble for the West, and maybe the team to get through now is Dallas. If you think of who they've got, so they've got Ottinger in net, they've got Rantanen now. That's a big.
And they got
team.
Jason Robertson, the taller.
Jason Robertson, the taller of the brothers.
Yeah, taller,
No.
better looking of the brothers. Apparently, Nick says no.
No.
But you got Stankoven was 5'7.5" on skates, dude. Dude's small, right? So he's a jitterbug. He flies, but I mean, Rantanen, Stankoven. You know what I mean? So it was almost like Carolina was kind of giving up. I don't know. There had to have been a better trade. Stankoven's a good Canadian boy. He was out there. He puts the time in. He's a fighter and stuff like that. But I'm it seemed like Carolina lost on that trade, man. I know they got first round draft pick, but as you and I know, what are they going to equate to? Because if it's Colorado's first round draft pick, Carolina's first round draft picks, it's going to be 20 and 26 overall, right? It's not going to be super great picks, or the other way around. Dallas,
Well, Carolina definitely. I think Carolina is the loser. Even though they did walk away with 4 draft picks, 2 firsts, 2 thirds. That's never a guarantee. But to bring Rantanen in and then turn him back around, I guess I'm curious. Was that the strategy the whole time? Was the strategy to bring him in? We're not going to sign Natchez. We're going to send him on his way. We just found out from Rantanen that he's not going to sign unless we're at, 14.5 per year. 8 times 14.5, whatever it is. So we turn him around, and essentially he's a rental. So they got a high-end prospect, 2 firsts, 2 thirds for a rental. That's a pretty, as much as they're losers for bringing him in and sending him out and not being able to sign him, I don't know. I kind of envy that position they're in, and they still have a good team. They still have good players on that team.
Yeah.
But the problem is they can't score.
They can defend well.
They can defend well, but they can't score. And their goaltending, this year's been suspect. For sure, and they never get it out of the second round, right? With that great team, that great coach, they've had good goaltending, but they never get out of the second round. And I think they were hoping that with picking up Rantanen, that they were going to actually be able to get out of that second round. But not going to happen. Stankoven's not going to do it for you, buddy.
He's not going to be the catalyst to me.
No, not at all.
Not at all. He's not. No. But maybe they're banking on those couple firsts that are going to be something that kind of equal. If you're going to get, what are you going to get out of Rantanen? Are you going to get 85 to 100 points out of him? Yeah. And does Stankoven and a couple of these draft picks equate to, can you get that 100 points back somehow? Or I don't know.
Or maybe the only thing that I can think of, you package those picks to somebody else to get a good player. You know what I mean? That would be kind of what you would look at doing if you 3 first-round draft picks for a great player that's out there on a team that's trying to, who's maybe an older team. Or, you know what? Utah's got a bunch of very serviceable, or Seattle, a bunch of serviceable players that you could trade one draft pick. And like you said, Rick, maybe you build a better overall team opposed to just one guy, right? Maybe that's going to be what their success is.
Now, we're talking about Carolina. They've won their last 5 games, and they're firmly in second position in the wild card race in their division. So they're second in the Metro. Yeah. They're likely going to come up against Jersey in the playoffs. That's kind of with, what are we, 15 games, 13 to 15 games been based on how many games you played. They're likely playing Jersey in the first round. They're 10 points behind Washington. They're not catching Washington. There's no way they're going to first. Right now, they're going to try and hold home ice position. That's kind of what they're going to try and go for. So let's talk about a different team with the trade deadline.
Okay, so I have a team, and I'm going to put it out there. I'll hear what you guys say, and then I'll give you my 2 cents. Craig, what would you say about the Boston Bruins? What they did at that trade deadline, winners, losers? What are your thoughts?
Well, you would think they would be losers by who they traded away, but then they played two fantastic games right after that against two top teams, Florida and Tampa. Oh, it just gives what that does when you trade away guys like that is it gives younger players an opportunity to step up into the lineup and others to move up the lineup. So they're playing more ice time, and it gives them a chance to show their stuff. And it appears that that's what Boston did. Just looking at the wild cards in the East, for example, in the Eastern Conference, you've got 4 teams all within 2 points of each other for the second wild card spot alone, and then Boston's only 2 points behind that.
It's going to be a track meet for sure.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many teams that, like, mathematically, is any team eliminated yet? Like, is Buffalo eliminated yet, or is I think pretty much every team is still in the potential race, right? Because Philly's at 64 points.
Yeah.
Mathematically, like, Philly's at 64 points. The Rangers are at 72. Like, that's an 8-point swing, right?
Yeah. The thing with Boston that blew me away was like trading Brad Marchand. So they traded him
within their division
to Florida, and they traded him for a second-round pick. I know it's like if they go through 2 rounds and Marchand plays 50% of the games, it changes to a potential first round or whatever.
First.
We don't know exactly everything, but first and whatnot. But come on, Brad Marchand for a second-round conditional pick?
Yeah.
Hello, we'll give you a first round for him. Like, we would have taken both those players. You know, we would have taken the defenseman who we picked up. I was going to talk about him a little bit later.
Brandon Carlo,
man. Who knew that guy was available? Carlo and Marchand are our team for what we traded plus a first-round pick conditional to a super first-round pick. Like, whatever. But Marchand, like, he's not even playing yet, right? He's still injured.
Him and Tkachuk are both injured. They aren't playing for Florida right now, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Boston finally realized that, you know, and this is the hard part. They might squeak into that bottom spot, but they weren't going to go anywhere. And they knew that. So they did the right thing, and they started trading off everybody. So as much as I would say, you know, they traded away a lot of their great players, I think Boston is a huge winner for what they recouped at trade deadline. What do you think,
two teams definitely had a fire sale, Boston being one of them. Because they had moved Trent Frederick earlier in the day, or earlier in the week, I think. Trent Frederick had been traded away.
Right.
So they traded Coyle, Frederick, Marchand, and there was 2 others. Carlo and, well, who's the other one? Anyways. And the other team that had a fire sale was Philadelphia. Philadelphia had a fire sale. They moved Frost and Farabee, you know, a few weeks previous to Calgary. They moved Lawton out. Like, another team that said, well, nothing's going to happen. We're probably not going to make the playoffs, even though mathematically they're still in it. We're going to have a fire sale. We're going to recoup some assets at the draft, whatever it is. And, you know, interesting to see both Boston and Philly have a bit of that fire sale.
And Boston also traded that big tall kid that, I can't remember his name now. So his last name starts with a B. He was actually a Maple Leaf at one point. Larry Bird. Pardon? Larry Bird? Yeah, that's him. Larry Bird. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely Larry Bird.
Oh, no, that's Celtics.
His name escapes me right now. We'll look it up for you. But they traded him as well. So they whoever wanted to pick a player from their team, they went, yep, no problem. You know what I mean? I think the only 2 players that they wouldn't have traded would have been Pasternak and their brand new anointed number 1 goalie who's all standing by himself. They probably would have even traded him. Jeremy Swayman. Yeah. But,
controversial. I don't know. So Boston also did a good job screwing up a lot of things this year. Like, they, you know, whether they were trying to re-sign Marchand or not, it didn't happen. They did a good job screwing up the Swayman experience. And, you know, I think he was a holdout, and, you know, they made an offer at the last minute. So in terms of, like, how they've been handling that front office too, it's kind of looked a bit ugly. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And is it Cam Neely that's in there right now? Like,
yeah.
Like, that's.
Well, and the thing, Marchand gave them a discount at 6. I think he was getting 6.5 or whatever, something around there. 6.3 probably his number, 6.3 for like 6 years. He was underpaid for 6 years, and before that, he was underpaid. That whole Boston team was underpaid, and then Pasternak went, "Nah, boys, you're gonna pay me." You know what I mean? And they're like, "Okay, we were just kidding. We'll pay you." So they pay him, and then Swayman. I think Swayman wanted 10, and he end up at 8.5 or something like that. So they kind of paid him less than on the open market, where he should have been for the last 2 years. But Boston's kind of always been able to do that. But that's because everybody was running together. Now it looks like they're kind of separating a bit. So the team discount for the entire team looks like that's starting to change out of Boston. But that would be Boston What other teams you want to talk about? Who else you got for before we get to who we really want to talk about?
So I got Florida on the list as well, and Florida's one of those teams where they made some moves before kind of like right at the end of the deadline. So they brought Seth Jones in, big move, getting him out of Chicago, good defenseman, adds to the core. But what I thought was really interesting is they brought Seth Jones in, and Craig, like from your alma mater, Aaron Ekblad goes off on a 20-game suspension for
That's right.
performance-enhancing
I know.
drugs, whatever performance. Now, controversy out there. They're saying it wasn't even the good performance enhancers. So he got popped for 20 games, and then I believe 2 playoff games is also part of that suspension. As much as Florida did, Kachuk's out. Sean got traded for, but he's not playing. Seth Jones is in. Aaron Ekblad is out. And it was in an appeal process, and they were probably talking like, is he going to player assistance or is he going to get burned?
Yeah.
It's likely one of those situations, whether it was a pee in a cup and he had Sudafed in him, or pee in a cup and he was raging full of testosterone. I don't know, whatever it was. Like, I guess if he was taking the juice, he'd be, I guess, maybe more games suspended. I don't know. I guess we should look up what the rule is for taking performance-enhancing drugs.
20 games. I was like, oh my gosh, thank God, because they looked crazy. They look really crazy.
And like,
crazy good.
And they do, like, they look very good, but now, kind of happy when they look stupid, to be honest. Every time that a team like Florida looks stupid, Boston, Montreal, I love every second of that. That's great. That makes me so happy when they look like dummies. I kind of enjoyed that.
And another super loser while you're thinking, Vancouver, super loser.
Ooh.
Someone who's on the outside looking in, again, if they would have traded to get a couple guys or whatever, they might have gotten through a second round, but they weren't going to go any further than that because Demko's not the Demko of old. But they did nothing. So Brock Besser, I think he's a UFA now, right? So he's walking for sure. And what else could they have done to that team? It was so weird, like, from that team to be so good last year and the year before to be, like, not so good. Sorry, Vancouver.
No, that's like the Rangers this year compared to last year. They were so good last year, and they kept the same roster, and then what happened to them?
Well, and I guess the team was saying that the offers for Besser were too low. I'd be interested to hear what the offers for Besser is, because he's not having a banger of a year, but he makes a lot of good teams way better. Like, he shores up a lot of positions for a lot of teams, and maybe they were fishing for, like, prospect in a first or something. But when you look at the price tag on, like, what Marchand did, and Marchand went back for a second, potentially a first based on conditions, but like, I guess teams are probably offering something in that range, like a first or a couple seconds, or nothing like, nothing what Vancouver was asking for, I guess. So
true.
Well, I remember seeing an interview with the general manager from Vancouver talking about Brock Besser, and he was saying, I'm embarrassed to say what other teams were offering us for him. But he never did come out and say what it was.
No.
So it must have been pretty bad.
Yeah, Craig, I'd be interested to see, like, behind the curtain, like, what was the offer? Like one of those, those the Amazon Prime shows where they kind of take you behind the curtain there. That'd be awesome. So Aaron Ekblad suspended for 20 games without pay. He says, this is thanks to the CBC, by the way, CBC. Ultimately, I made a mistake by taking something to help me recover from recent injuries without first checking with proper medical and team personnel. And then he goes on to apologize and say, I'm responsible. I take responsibility for my actions, blah, blah, blah. But
you're responsible after you get caught.
Yeah.
Like, how long has he been doing it for, right? So what if he's been doing it for the past 7-8 years, and he's like, yeah, you got me. This is the first time I've ever done this, obviously. And so now, yes, I'm sorry. Dude's been doing it for again, I'm just saying, I don't have proof, but for sure he's been doing it. Just like I'm sure a lot of other people have been as well. But it's when you own up to is when you get caught. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's really kind of what happens.
And hockey's not, like, hockey to me isn't one of those sports where you're really worried about performance-enhancing drugs too much. Like, you're not worried about guys getting on the juice, because guys don't want to be, like, a lot bigger and a lot more muscular. Like, you need to be mobile and you need to be able to move fluidly on the ice. Like, you want to have good bulk and maintenance, but you also don't want to be like, like, I've met Brent Burns a couple of times. Brent Burns, for whatever, however tall he is, 6'7" or whatever he was, look like he's a muscular guy, but he's pretty lean. Like, he's a pretty lean 6'7", 225 or whatever he is, because he needed to be mobile. And I wonder if that's what happened to Aaron Ekblad, is that he was just taking a bit of a bump and he got big. They said, hey, come piss in a cup because you look like you're that's not natural, bud.
Boy, right?
Yeah. That's like they walk into the locker room and they looked at me and they went, he's fine.
He's
We don't
okay.
need to test him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fine. So these enhancement drugs make you lose your hair. Tess Hogan there. There's definitely some problems going on. But yeah,
So
for sure. I know what you're saying.
I'm going to take us to a different sport for a second. So I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, love the Vikings, and a number of years ago, Adrian Peterson was doing these videos, these commercials for Nike, Adidas, whoever it was, and like this guy does not look like a human being. Like he looks like the guy, like he's carved out of granite. This guy,
Mhm.
and you look at him and you're like, all right, bud. After the commercial's done, go piss in this cup because that ain't natural.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hey, and sorry, by the way, if you guys actually land the quarterback that's been rumored to come to your, and if you do, I'm sure there's a lot of your fans that won't be fans anymore. He's taking a similar route of a former Green Bay quarterback who went from Green Bay to the Jets to Minnesota. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I think they're going with the guy they drafted last year. So Sam Darnold obviously signed with a different team, and I think they're going to go. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. He's a lefty. He looks good. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
we're talking about
I don't know.
Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah, that's.
Do not let the poison in the well, boys. Do not let
Don't
that
do it.
poison in the well. That's
And
terrible.
this is the guy that's off doing ayahuasca in Peru in the off season, and he's going to find the dragon or whatever he's going to do to sort himself out so he can play another year.
Yeah. Even
Maybe
in the
that's what
preseason, he was
Ovechkin's
doing it, buddy. Maybe.
Maybe Ovechkin's doing ayahuasca.
That makes a lot of sense, actually,
8 games away. Or 8
That's so
games
good.
away.
8
goals.
goals.
Away. Yeah.
Crazy eight.
Eight from breaking it, yeah. 8 from break. He had a goal and an assist last night in the 5-1 win over San Jose. So he's got 15 games. He's got 15 games left to get that 7 goal to tie, and then of course the 8 to break the record.
He's going to do it.
And
He's going to retire, boys. He's going to do it this year. He's going to retire. He's going to drop the hockey stick and walk out.
I hope, again, we've talked about this on 2 podcasts now. I hope he breaks Gretzky's record. Oh boy, I'll be all right. If I fall down, come over and pick me up, please.
We got you.
If he beats Gretzky's record and Gretzky's there, I hope he just skates by him and just nothing.
Gives him one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thumbs down. You got it.
Thumbs down, you loser. Anyways, we're not going to get off because we can talk about that asshole for the next 17 minutes, and we're not going to go there. We're going to talk about how Ovechkin's likely going to break this thing this year. I don't think he retires. I don't think he goes away. I think he doesn't skate off into the sunset. I think he plays another year, especially if they go on a run. Like, you look at where they are, 96 points. They're having a hell of a year this year. Like, if they're competitive and they get into third round, like they get into, say, Eastern Conference Finals, how can you walk away from that with like?
But what
them
a better
knocking on
time
the
to
door?
walk away? What a better time to walk away than walk away on top? You know what I mean?
But he's
Breaking the
played for
goal scoring.
That's his team. It's been his team his entire career, and I think he wants to see them win the cup, and I think he wouldn't walk away for the potential to win again.
Okay, we'll see. We can bet coffee on that. But anyways, that's another story.
We could.
So what other teams do we want to talk about in the trade deadline? Who else would you want to talk about in the trade deadline?
We talked about this. We talked about this team right here, and I wanted to show off my fancy new sweater with this fancy logo I got the other day. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yep.
But the Toronto Maple Leafs, like, man, that's, so I'll say something controversial. I don't like what they did. I don't like what Toronto did. They made a bit of a splash, but my opinion of what they needed to do was to either go do something very, very big or do nothing. Don't ruin the chemistry. Don't ruin what you have going. You have good pieces. And yes, they upgraded. They upgraded in a couple of spots, but they also gave away 2 first-round draft picks when we do not have draft capital. We are thin in the cupboard. We do not have good prospects coming up. We do not have a lot of draft picks coming up. What the hell? Does this qualify as a big splash?
I do with Carlo. Oh my gosh, dude! Who would have known if he was available? Like, we talked about getting a lot of different defensemen. Seth Jones maybe came up. Some other defensemen. Who knew Carlo was available? I mean, I would have went out and got Scott Lawton only simply because we can get into that a little bit after. Like, Scott Lawton may be a good player at third line center, but they're not even playing him at third line center. They tried him. Now they're mixing him in the first line, the second line, third line. He got hit in the eye with no call. Bullshit. Injustice. Ref was right there going, that was a really brutally refereed game. Like, God, with Ottawa versus Toronto, you know what I mean? And then you get Berube. Sorry, I'm going off of here. Berube's going, you know what? The Leafs got a bad rap, man, because every single team that comes in here is coming to win. There's no off nights for any team that's coming in because the majority of the players, or a big chunk of them, are from Ontario. They want to show their wares. And it's almost like the refs are, you see him every game. I've never seen Berube when he was with St. Louis going, shaking his head like, what is going on? He's doing that almost every game with us, right? So welcome to Toronto, buddy. When you're as good as you are, or when you're the New York Yankees of, hockey, or the Dallas Cowboys of hockey kind of thing, sometimes you got to wear that badge of honor, or everybody's scrutinizing you as your team. Sorry, I went somewhere else. But Brandon Carlo, I think Brandon Carlo, wow, I'm so stoked we picked up him. Scott Lund, sorry, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
They haven't really found a spot for him yet, but they will. I think they will. I think he's got a lot of nerves coming in. He's a local boy from the area.
Yeah, Oakville.
And he wants to do well, but he's just struggling with nerves probably to get in place there and find his niche in the team.
And I love the Fraser Minton comments. Dude, show for greatness, maybe. He's got third line center, and that's all Fraser Minton's going to be. Sorry, Fraser. You know what I mean? Because we tried him, and we saw him. And again, I hope he proves me wrong, because he's a good Canadian boy. You know what I mean? But I don't think his ceiling was third line center. It really was. So if you're going to trade a third line center for a third line center now, and we needed that help, that's what they were all saying, but I don't think we needed that third line center.
Yeah, I think the problem was that they moved, unfortunately, the wrong people left, and there's no trade value for Calle Yarncroc. There's no trade value for David Kampf. So you had to move where you have the trade value, which is the younger guys, to bring in that third line center. Now, again, if we're looking at the team and we're looking at where he fits in the lineup, why in the world would you break up that first line chemistry? Yeah. No way. You can't break up Holmberg, McMahon, Domi like that. There's good magic there, but Robertson, something Toronto's done. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Robertson.
Yeah.
You can't. There's this chemistry that's going on in some of these areas, and I'll always go back to Tavares and Marner. The Tavares-Marner chemistry, it was magical. They worked so well together. To go put Lawton on the top line does not compute with me at all. No. That is not something you can mess with. And if you're going to move him in anywhere, if you're going to slot this guy anywhere in the lineup, it's second line center. Anywhere in the lineup for me, or he's in the bench, like he's in the press box. Anywhere. Because Tavares would go to the third line, and you have something where you've got Tavares, McMahon, Domi, Tavares McMahon.
Pacioretty when he gets back. Yeah.
Right. Something like that. Man, I don't know.
Dude,
again, not excited about Lawton.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to see. He's a wait and see. I like him. I want him to do well. You know what I mean? He's got a good heart. You can see he's trying out there, like Craig was saying. It's just the bounces aren't going his way. But you know who the best Maple Leafs been over these past 5 games? My gosh, it's been. Sorry, I was going to say Max Domi. What? Well, because his dad's watching every game, and it's funny.
Yeah.
Domi comes in, scores a beautiful goal, and this is Ty Domi's face. He scores. He's like this. He fights. He kicks the living bejeebus out of that kid, the defenseman from Florida. Here's Ty Domi's face. And then you see a guy walk by with a bag of popcorn. He's like, ah! And he grabs it. He's happy. But nothing with what his kid was doing, or it could have been just when they were shooting Ty in the. But I'm telling you, Domi ragdolled that defenseman from Florida that used to play for Vegas and Boston. But
the body check on Verhaeghe to start.
Oh my God! Right in the chest, blew him up. You knew someone was going to come fight him after that happened.
Verhaeghe's looking around like, what planet am I on?
It's beautiful. And he ragdolled the guy, too. And it was a defenseman, not a big dude, but a little bit bigger than Max, or maybe the same. But they went, right? We're going to have to look that up. But he's like a third pairing or second pairing. But, yeah, good for Max Domi, really stepping up. I like, if you go with first line, you go Matthews, Nyes, and Domi. I like that because Domi's going to push people around. Marner's not going to. He also has the same kind of passing. Nobody's going to be
a good passer. Yeah, he's a good passer.
Nobody's going to be as great as Marner is, but Domi and Matthews had great chemistry, and you got Nyes. There's a great first line. Then, Rick, you put your best bud, you go JT with Marner, and do you load up with Nylander, or you trade McMahon up? Like, I don't mind them trying, but Lawton is a third-line center. He should be on that third line kind of thing, right? So we've got options, but it was almost like all the stuff that we worked for all season to play the Craig Berube game where we're north-south, we're going in, we're not a puck position team. Because if you look at the puck position possession numbers, the previous 5 years and even further back, we're in top 3 puck possession in the O zone. Now we're 21st overall. So we're not starting with the puck. We're not in the other person's zone as much. So we have to play more defense. And when we go to score goals, it's just not happening. And what the fuck is going on with Matthews? What the hell? He scores a rebound open goal. Oh my gosh. But dude, go to Germany again, figure it out. But he's got to figure out what's going on with him because he's like the 4th best player on the team. He's not even showing up. I don't know what's going on.
He looks out of sorts at times, like his puck handling, his stick checking. He's not as sharp as he was early in the year, or definitely not last year. He was much better last year, but he's just something's a little bit off.
Yeah, his details are missing, and he's
Yeah.
still getting back into play, but he's not making a great defensive play like he was.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe they need to put him on the bench for a couple of days for like a health maintenance thing, or
Yeah.
like you've got Calgary coming up on Monday, and then who are they playing on?
Colorado. And
So
they got back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday. They got Colorado and then the Rangers.
Yeah.
Right. So do you sit him down against the Rangers, or do you sit him down against Calgary and the Rangers? Like, give him a bit of a break. Like, again, we're talking 14 games before the end of the season.
Well, it's tough because now we're tied for third with Tampa at 81 points,
know.
right? We got Ottawa breathing down our back, our goaltending that was
Ottawa's 4 points away.
Yeah. Right,
What
and
the
our
hell?
goaltending that was fantastic for us. Like Joseph Walls in the last game sucked, and it looks sort of like Stolarz is overplaying. You know what I mean? Like he's sliding an extra foot past. He's guessing. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on. So somebody needs to settle something down in there. Figure out what's going on. You can't keep putting the lines in the blender all the time because everybody's trying too hard or they're not playing like a team anymore. You know what I mean? Like play as a team. Play your lines. You know what I mean? You're not going to win every night. You're not going to score every night, but you got to stay the course, right? And that's the thing. You stay that course. Brewery's instilled this defensive kind of mechanism, which is what's supposed to make us successful in the playoffs. Continue to do that, buddy. You know what I mean? You can change your lineups a little bit, but when you have goal scorers like Nylander, Matthews, Marner, Nyes is really coming in his own. You got McMahon, Robertson with that shot. Wow, what a great shot with Robertson. Let's let these guys play. You know what I mean? But Matthews, buddy, give your head a shake. I'm wearing a Matthews t-shirt. Like, my God. I don't know what's going on. Like, somebody call him. Someone, please call Matthews.
Yeah. Well, look at our secondary scoring when we had that little streak there recently, winning like 5 of 6 games or something like that. There was all kinds of different guys scoring. In the last 6 games, we've scored 15 goals, and 3 of them are from secondary players.
Yep.
The rest of the big boys. So these secondary guys got to start showing up again because they're just not there right now.
Well, I'm not even worried about the secondary. You can't even get the first and dairy. Fuck Matthews. Score a goal for shit's sakes. And it's not an open goal or the goalie came out and our guy slid it over to you and you almost hit Domi in the head with a puck. Or an empty netter. Come on, buddy. Show us what you got. And the other thing you're watching with Matthews when he's going in the defensive zone, normally when he's trying to take a puck away from the guy goes body side and then will come in and muscle the guy and take the puck. Now he's going puck side and he's guessing, right? He's out of sorts. He's out of position. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I just hope he's having a bad stretch and he finally figures it out. But we need Matthews to win, man. We don't have Matthews, we're not going to win. It's like McDavid. Edmonton sucked because McDavid's not having a good stretch of 10, 15 games, right? So they can't win without him. We can't win without Matthews.
Yeah.
Or Stolarz.
And you look at Edmonton too right now, like Draisaitl's on a run. He got an assist today in the game on their first goal in order to run his streak to 18 consecutive games with getting a point. Wow. And on the goal that they got was on the power play. But here's what they did. When I've talked about this at our Nights Watch the Leaf games about hitting the net with the puck, like they missed the net. For example, the other night when they were playing Florida, Nylander had so many shots and missed the net every time. And there was one point Matthews was down beside the net, and he just sort of turned, and you could see on camera he shook his head. Like missed the net, and puck goes all the way out of the zone.
Yeah.
They're on the power play. Draisaitl's on the point today. He takes a shot just barely off the ice, hits the pads of Shesterkin in the net. It bounces around, and Corey Perry puts it in the net. All they got to do is hit the net, let that traffic in front. They're trying to go for that perfect shot all the time. Yeah. Just hit the net, guys, and then go from there.
It's a great point.
It's just something they got to try to get some traffic and get some traffic in front of the net there, and then see what happens in front.
Well, if you can get the puck into the mixer, so if you can get somewhere around the blue paint and you can get a bunch of bodies in there and just create some havoc and mayhem, and you have one person kind of as that, with the eyeballs in the puck the whole time and clean up some of that garbage, honestly, that's the confusion you need to create in the power play. Where when you're trying to hit that one-timer on the half boards and you're trying to create this beauty highlight reel goal, like, no, let's go get some ugly goals right now. Like, let's go crash the net and squeak a couple in instead of, like, trying to have some highlight reel style stuff.
Get some garbage goals.
And you kind of need Pacioretty back for some of that stuff because Pacioretty is one of those guys who just He'll get in front of the net. JT will get in front of that too. Like they need to
Yep.
get some of these bodies in front when Pacioretty gets back, but
Yeah.
they need to get
Nyes is
JT
good
in
at
front of
that
the net
too.
too.
Yeah,
Oh,
you got JT, Nyes,
man.
and Pacioretty. All three of those guys are good at it, right? So
Has Nyes ever developed as a guy in front of the net? Wow, has he
outstanding.
done a good job? Yeah.
good hands too, right? Really
Yeah.
good hands. I think they need to change. Okay, guys, you're not going to play the 5 forwards in the playoffs. Why are you doing now?
No.
And
No.
every time you see Ekman Larson out there, this guy is a magician with the puck. You know, the reason why our defensemen aren't getting any points is because they're not getting shots, they're not getting the opportunities, they're getting no time on the power play. They're getting 12 seconds on the second unit. And we're screaming at the TV going, start the second unit, right? The other guys are out for 2 full minutes. And then not only does that mess the whole 2 minutes because they missed the power play, then for the next 6 minutes, they're trying to rejuvenate the lines and the rotation of the lines. Yeah, like figure it out. Like, don't be stupid, guys. Listen, let's put out, you need to have at least one defenseman out there. And in the playoffs, maybe even 2. Let's go back to the old style. A lot of different times we were changing up what we were doing because we were looking for scoring. Why don't we go back and have 2 defensemen? Wouldn't that mess people up? Well, these guys are having defensemen out here. That's who shoots the puck at the net, right? That's their job. And that's where people are scoring. Florida beat us 3-1. They had the empty netter. But 2 were goals on the power play. And exactly what you said, Rick. Guys in front of that, crisscross, boom, it comes in. Goalie can't see it. Goalie can't stop what he doesn't see. They scored 2 goals. And we're a much better team on the ice than Florida iced during that game. And we lost. They don't have, Tkachuk. They don't have Marchand. They don't have Ekblad. Nope. And we lost. It's embarrassing.
I think you got to look at some of the don't broke. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So that's kind of what, when you've got that QB, that defenseman quarterback like OEL who handles the puck well, like Riley who can quarterback that second unit, you've got to put that person in place, and you kind of need to mix it up because teams know what's coming. You know that it's going to one of 2 or 3 guys. You know what they're trying to do. You're trying to separate them. And when you start mixing in a crash the net style where I'm going to buzz something along the ice, like give a couple inches off the ice and let it hit sticks and skates and let it deflect and go all over. Like, that's something that's got to happen. And you also need to have your 4 defensemen in the mix in that play, right? So with Riley being that, he's that very offensive defenseman, he's got to be part of that power play. And I'm not on the first unit, but maybe in the playoffs, it's got to be Riley, OEL, and you've got to maybe just keep your first line out there and then keep your second line out there, which is not really traditional, but you kind of need to keep that pressure up because you're also going to need to get back and defend. And
for sure,
like you said, so I was watching during the Calgary-Colorado game. Calgary had their defenders out, and Huberdeau is one of their defenders. He's one of their PK guys. So they'll have Huberdeau out for a long time on their PK, and it screws their lines up. And their top line doesn't get back out on the ice for at least 2 or 3 shifts. Same on the power play. They run a funny power play where they add this extra guy in, and they actually ended up reverting they ended up changing their first line in the second period to take Coronado off the first line because they got burned twice where they didn't get their first line back out on the ice. It's like, and you can't do that. You can't keep Matthews off the ice, especially when they put their first line out after a PK and you're chasing their guys around. And like, let's be honest, we're going to be playing Tampa Bay in the first round. That's likely what's going to happen unless Ottawa does something ridiculous. But it's likely going to be Tampa Bay in the first round. Like, you don't want to be chasing them around, especially like with Matthews sitting on the bench, Marner sitting on the bench, Nyes sitting on the bench. Like, that can't happen. Like, there's got to be. And again, they pay a power play, like a special teams coach, a power play specialist, and a penalty kill specialist a shitload of money to figure this out. Figure it out. What do you like?
They're not doing it. Like, we're right in the middle of the pack. And listen, the things that we don't do in the playoffs, we don't have good goaltending. Last year we had okay goaltending, but our goaltending has been a problem. We can't score, and we can't score on the power play. So guess what? The 5-man forward unit's not working. Let's change it up. Let's try something different. Stop it. Stop it now. And stop putting them out there for 2 full minutes for the entire power play. You know what I mean? You got to change it up.
Craig,
you making a call? Thank you.
I'm Craig. Yeah. Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. Stop it. Back to basics. Stop it.
Good call.
Let's put 2 defensemen out there. We've got most of our defensemen out there are pretty good shots at the net. That's what they do. Just get the shot on the net, right? They're not having the opportunity.
No, this is what I like about this Philip Myers out there. Every opportunity he gets, he shoots the puck. And man, he just doesn't get to play enough, unfortunately. And he defends well. Like, he's a big guy back there, and he seems to be defending well. He's just young yet. Maybe they'll get him in there somewhere. But if he could teach the other guys how to shoot the puck at the net, and they listen, then they might get somewhere.
Well, talking about giving young guys a chance like Boston did, why not put Philip Myers up on the second unit and have him let a couple shots go?
Yeah.
Get high hash or get just below the blue line and just start buzzing some low pucks at the net and see what happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's proven he will definitely go shoot the puck. Like, it's a fantastic point.
I agree, and it's tough to take Benoit, where he's got that physical presence, and obviously, his name's Superman now. Did you see that? Dude with his second Superman punch jumps up in the air, and he's looking down, and he's like drilling the guy in the head. We were like, "What is going on?" And do that again. It was so exciting.
It would have been so much better.
Oh, the guy's head would have been gone. Well, that's the one weird thing. If you go and actually count how many actual punches connect with the other player when they're fighting, like Domi, like I think threw 32 punches and hit twice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm like, like come on.
So what I want to know is, and one of the things I was looking up is, how many times have guys attempted to Superman punch in the NHL? Like, there is not.
Dude, I don't know anybody else. Do you remember anybody else doing it?
Well, Kevin Bieksa was the guy that was named after in Vancouver.
Oh, so Bieksa, there you go. Bieksa, a good Grimsby boy, just around the corner from us. You're right. I remember Bieksa doing it, and obviously Simon Benoit, that's the English translation of his name. He's definitely done it twice for us this season, I think. But I don't remember anybody else doing it. But yeah, it was fun for sure.
It's a weird question to ask AI, so it's not returning a lot of them. So it's got the 2 Benoit instances.
Okay.
But there's nothing else really coming up.
You'll have to go
AI
and see
is not helping me right now.
No. It is what it is. So, do you think, Rick, overall, the Leafs are going to finish either second or third, play Tampa Bay in the first round, and we're going to have to battle it out and survive? Do you guys want to talk about, do you have anything else you want to talk about? You want to talk about potential matchups, where people are going to land in the East and the West, and kind of say who we believe is going to be the winners of that first round anyways, or what do you want to do with that?
Well, just one point. You're talking about Ottawa going on a run here, and if they happen to catch Toronto, say, and Toronto does end up the first wild card, if that's the case, we'd end up playing Florida.
Yeah.
So then Tampa and Ottawa would battle it out. So it's going to be we're going to play Tampa or Florida most likely, and not likely Ottawa, but you never know. Like they're going to be in there, but who knows? Tampa might falter a bit because we're tied with them right now. So we'll see what happens.
So if you look at Toronto's schedule over the next couple of games, so you've got, like, from a strength of schedule standpoint, you've got a pretty balanced schedule. Like, they've got Nashville, Philly, San Jose on a stretch. Like, that should be 3 games they win. They've got LA, Anaheim.
They've got San Jose twice, actually, I think, coming up too.
And they've got Florida twice. But the rest of the schedule looks like it could be soft. And again, like, you know, there's definitely a good chance that they could, like, I don't want to jinx anything by saying this. I'm going to whisper it kind of quietly.
Okay,
it doesn't count. Okay, if they play really, really well, they could finish in first place.
Okay,
they can.
Okay, maybe. Don't tell anybody. Okay, I like it.
Which puts them in the first round as Toronto, Ottawa in the first round, which I love, and it puts the 2 Florida teams against each other, which would be epic for hockey. And to have, well, obviously it's all arranged. To have this, like, to have the Florida teams beat up on each other in the first round would be lovely. That would be wonderful. So
yeah, well, and you look at the wild cards right now. Like the first wild card's pretty much, I wouldn't say locked up, but they're in pretty good shape. Ottawa was 77 points in the East, and Minnesota was 79 in the West. They've got the first wild cards, but you look at the second wild cards in both. We talked about the East, but look at the West is all close too. There's 4 points separating 4 teams, and Vancouver's got 73. St. Louis and Calgary was 71, got 69, and Utah's in Vancouver playing tonight. So that could be a 4-point swing there in that game. It's really both conferences are really close when it comes to that second one.
It'd be pretty exciting to see, like, so Calgary played Vancouver recently, and they lost to Vancouver in overtime, and Calgary separated themselves and moved into the wild card spot. Calgary's got game in hand, and they've got 2 games in hand over St. Louis. That's even more exciting, is that there's potential for now. Unfortunately for Calgary, fortunately for Toronto, Calgary's playing Toronto tomorrow night. We're recording on Sunday. Toronto's playing on Monday. Like, Calgary brings, like, this blue chip game, and they're hardworking, and they're going to bring something to Toronto. Toronto's not looking as good as we would really hope that they would be looking right now. So they could bring some trouble, put themselves back in a playoff spot, and hurt Toronto a little bit in that standing too. But I think the wild card in the wild card, the wild card of the wild card, I think it's Utah. Like I think the
Mhm.
potential for Utah here is high.
Hey, I heard an interview with, it was funny, with Utah owner. His name's Ryan Smith. Okay, so I'm like, what? Ryan Smith from Edmonton?
Edmonton?
That's what I was thinking, right? It's not. It's not
No.
Ryan Smith from Edmonton, but Ryan Smith, the owner. And this guy, when Gary Bettman came to town, he got the seats right down on the glass level to watch a game with Gary. And they're watching, everybody's coming down and stuff like this. And Gary looks up to him and he goes, Ryan, this is not what we do. We go up. We're in the box. And he goes, in the box? Gary, this is the best seats in the house. Why would you not want to sit down here? You're the commissioner. I'm the owner. We should be sitting right here. And I listen to this guy. I'm like, man, this guy's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
so cool. What a really cool owner. And I listened to him, and they were asking him, hey, Ryan Smith, what do you think about, are you involved with trades? Are you putting your stamp on the team? What do you think? And he goes, listen, I'm a smart businessman who had a company, and I sold it off, and I made a whole bunch of money. And that's what my job is, and that's what I do. But I'm not stupid. I'm going to let the hockey guys do the hockey thing. I'm going to sit back and watch and listen, and we're going to figure out how this thing works. And I'm not going to put my nose where my nose doesn't need to be. I'm an owner. I'm there to make money, and I'm there to help support the team, but I'm not there to make the decisions for the people that I hire to make those decisions. So I'm like, look at this guy, young guy, smart guy, wants to have fun. I'm like, good for you, buddy. I was very, very impressed overall with him and talking about Utah. And he's selling Utah, and he's saying, oh, we golf year round. You can, after you golf, you go skiing right there. He goes, players want to come. Players want to be here. This is a place where players want to retire, where they want to live. And he's selling Utah as a destination for NHL players. Like, this guy, you got to watch this guy. He's smart, man. He's going to pick up some of those players that are out there. Maybe Mitch Marner going to Utah. You know what I mean? I don't know. Right?
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Ouchie.
Did you hear what the potential trade could have been with Carolina and Toronto for Rantanen?
Yes.
If Marner had waived his no trade, they were going to go Marner, Minton, Cowan, and 2 first-round picks for Mikko Raantenen.
Oh, that's just stupid.
That was way too
Ugly.
much.
Yeah.
Ugly.
Yeah.
That's way
Yeah.
too much.
I mean, if you would have went straight up Marner for Rantanen straight up,
Yeah.
okay, because then you're trading, you know, they're two different players. They're both wingers, but they both bring something great, and they're
Something different.
they're potentially in the top 5. Well, not potentially, they are top 5 wingers in the entire league. So
Mhm.
that would have shook it up. But to give all of our good players plus someone who's, I would say, equal to Rantanen,
Yeah.
different player but equal. Yeah, I'm glad we didn't make that trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. I hope that didn't hurt negotiations in the offseason. I hope that's like by them saying, "Hey, we want to trade you." I hope that doesn't put a bee in his bonnet, and he's like, "Well, I guess you don't want me that bad."
Yeah.
I think it was kind of a trial test offer to Marner, going, listen, and they're it's so funny, like, we should only bring this to you because they asked for you. That's the only reason I'm coming to you, to see if you waive, because they asked for. Did you want to waive it?
They
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. So you want to say trial? Okay, cool. So that's what they're saying. They're playing it up, and Treliving went back out there and goes, no. I just said it because, you know, I wanted to let him know that people were interested in him. And I'm like, whatever, buddy. You were trying to snow Marner into saying yes or whatever, or test it to see if he really wants to stay.
Yeah.
You know,
See what his answer would be.
Yeah, and to see what his answer would be, for sure, right? So that's why they did it. Now, should they've done it? I don't know. But I mean, I haven't brought this up about the Marner family, but where I used to work at a location out of the greater Vaughan area, I may or may not have Paul Marner, great person, and Chris Marner, great person, who is Marner's brother. And we had a conversation about hockey for about 20 minutes. And what we really said is going to stay between the three of us. But you know, they did a great job. I don't know, maybe we can talk about it at one podcast, but I'd like to, when someone kind of shared with me their own thoughts about it, I know it can be out there and it can be put out there, but, and the conversation I would say was probably about 2 years ago. I don't know if you guys want me to, I'll say one thing that he said. Mr. Marner, the father, Paul, he said the one thing the Leafs are missing, and this was 2 years ago, is a goaltender. If you would have traded our goaltender in the first round with the team that we were playing in the first round, we would have won. And that was really what the difference was between the Maple Leafs and any other first round team that we played. It was goaltending. Goaltending is what we definitely need, and that's what we should go after, right? And so that's what he was saying, and I agree with him. You know, our goaltending for a long time has been, we've tried a lot of different things, you know, it didn't work, but wasn't like we weren't trying, but we need to get a stud in there. And we thought we got a young one in Wall. They got to figure it out. And Stolarz has got to get back to his playing and not overanalyze. But Mr. Marner said we needed goaltending. I agree. That's what wins championships.
Yeah. You have to have a great goalie to backstop you into something fantastic. And I'm really hoping that this is just a point in the season where they're in a bit of a lull and they're going to just kind of have this resurgence as you get closer to the playoffs and all the things kind of, everything kind of comes together. And I think that's what we need right now is let's get this lull out of the way and let's get back on the horse. Let's get back into the rhythm. Let's go win a few games in the schedule and let's just start really turning it on. They've got 2 big games against Florida, and I think they need to make a statement in that first game against Florida as well.
Yeah.
They need to come out and say, okay, this is how the playoffs are going to be. We're bringing it to you. We're bringing you. Like, we're not going to sit back and get bullied by you. We're going to bring the heat to you, and you're going to experience what life is like against our new secondary scoring plan or whatever it is. And yeah, and there's teams in the East that are knocking on the door. Like, you've got like the potential for some of these teams. Like, there's potential. We talked about this early in the beginning of the season. Like, there's potential for Montreal or Detroit to make the playoffs. And we were joking about Ottawa not making the playoffs. Ottawa's knocking on the door of third place in the division. Now we're looking at Montreal potentially with a win could jump ahead of New York. You've got Columbus, who is right there knocking on the door. You've got Detroit, who's tied with Columbus with 70 points. Like, there are 3 teams there, or 4, let's say 4 teams between Rangers, Montreal, Columbus, and Detroit. You've got 4 teams that legit could make an entrance into the playoffs and cause some damage. Like, they could cause some problems for somebody. In a perfect scenario, like, it's going to be whatever that team is playing Washington in the first round.
Yeah.
Whoever that is, whatever, and I'm guessing it's one of the 4. I think the only team that really gives Washington fits is going to be Boston, if Boston can get there. But
the Rangers.
I don't think the Rangers give them fits.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
they've
but it's not Boston of old. This is a I don't want to say depleted Boston team, but it's a depleted Boston team that doesn't have a star. All they have really is a goalie. That's all they've really. And
with Boston, I'm talking about the Rangers, right? The Rangers.
Rangers have just played like obviously they're in a playoff spot right now, but Rangers have not played to their potential. Like, they won the President's Trophy last year.
Yeah.
Like, you can't win. Like, I guess you can, obviously, but to win the President's Trophy last year and to come back and be like scrapping for the second wild card spot, maybe like that's a tough go, man. Like, that's
for sure,
a tough spot to be in.
And speaking of the President's Trophy, that seems to be a 2-horse race right now. That's you've got Winnipeg with 96, Washington with 96, and they're 9 and 10 points ahead of the next closest team in their conference. So we're looking at those 2 teams are going to be battling it out, I think, for the President's Trophy.
Well, and that's one thing we didn't talk about, Winnipeg's trade deadline. Winnipeg was the Toronto Maple Leafs of the East, and they picked up the 2 players that I thought the Toronto was going to pick up in Luke Shen and also picked up Brandon Tanev. Like, I thought, for sure, those were the 2 guys I thought we were going to go get. I mean, it was going to cost us, a second, a fourth, a third, and a I don't know, a bag of pucks.
And a Connor Timmins, maybe.
Maybe a Connor Timmins, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Connor Timmins.
Now, he scored in Pittsburgh, and Connor Dewar had
Connor Dewar scored 2 goals against Jersey. Oh my God, these guys, right? Whatever.
So
but
painful. Oh my God.
Exactly, it's painful. Whatever.
And hey, let's talk about Winnipeg for a second, because Winnipeg, I don't know if Winnipeg's getting their due like they should be getting. Like, we're talking about Dallas, and Winnipeg's 10 points ahead of Dallas, and they are on a tear. Like,
here we are talking about Colorado and Dallas, and we forgot about Winnipeg.
Yeah, Winnipeg was leading that whole West, right?
Right. So here's the question: can Winnipeg go somewhere? Can Winnipeg go without a second? Like, they don't have a second line center. That's like they stop at, but they have got some great pieces. And look at their record. Are they going to go to the West Final? Like, is it like, does the path to the Stanley Cup go through Winnipeg and not Dallas?
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you right now, that West is going to beat the crap out of each other, because you got Winnipeg, you got Dallas, you got Colorado, you got Edmonton when they focus. You know what I mean? Those 4 teams are going to, it's going to be very, very tough out there. And you look at, just quickly, if you look at the defense, if you look at Winnipeg's defense, they've got 2 defensemen, maybe. You know what I mean? You're like, how are they doing it? Hellebuck. Okay, there you go. And then you look at Edmonton's defense, you're like, how are they? What? No way. Dallas's defense is Dallas has a great defense. You know, even that kid who got pulled up in the 4 Nations Cup,
Thomas Harley.
Wow, man, this guy was a great surprise, right? Dallas has great defense, and Colorado has like two defensemen. So
And Dallas has Heiskanen still out. Like I don't think they've got Heiskanen back yet, right?
No, I don't
like
think I don't think he's back.
And
but
that
Dallas
like,
has
he's
yeah,
a
no, he's
top
good.
tier
And
defenseman. Yeah.
Dallas has a good goalie. Okay, and you got Winnipeg's got a good goalie. Edmonton, not so much. And then Colorado went, you know what I think's a good idea? Why don't we
Trade
pick both
all
of
the
New
goalies.
Jersey Devils goalies, and their goaltending's terrible? Why don't we take both of them? That's probably a good plan. Good plan?
Good idea.
Yeah, let's do that. What are you doing?
Former Barry Colt, Mackenzie Blackwood, now with Colorado.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the goaltending is suspect in those two teams. So that's why when you look at, I think Dallas and Winnipeg are going to be the teams that comes right down to it in the West. That's who I'm saying.
Wedgwood looks good though. Like I saw him play 2 nights ago. He looks very good. He's very solid in the ice, and he's not doing what Stolars is doing. His movements are pretty compact. He's in the box.
Mhm.
He's in this spot, like cutting off his laneways. Again, you're
He's
playing
not
against
overplaying.
Calgary. Calgary's kind of Calgary's punching a bit over their weight right now. So
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't monumental in terms of his performance, but like he'll get them, like he'll carry them. But like you said, he's not a top tier goalie. He's not Hellebuck. He's not he's not Ottinger. He's not. Who's the kid in Los Angeles, the Kings?
We're sitting there watching them like, who are any of those guys on the fourth line? Who are the guys on the third line? I know one guy on the second line. Like, the team was terrible. And now all of a sudden, they pick up two good players, who are steady Eddie players. They're not like players. They're not in the top 20, the two guys they picked up. Maybe in the top 72, but they're not top players. But their system is starting to go good. But again, the goaltending, man, it's going to come down to it. If you ask New Jersey why they didn't go far in the playoffs the past 2-3 years, it's because of their goaltending, right?
So
and then they gave the goaltending to Colorado.
Let's talk about a team that's got some goaltending behind them, and that's the the Vegas Golden Knights. And who is their goaltender?
Adin Hill.
So they're on a bit of a tear. They're sitting in first place in their division right now, and they've got Adin Hill, and their backup is Samsonov. So in terms of like playoff experience, they should Adin Hill not, maybe he maintains and he stays as good as he's been, but if Adin Hill doesn't do so great, you've also got Samsonov who could back him up, who's got a ton of playoff experience. So Vegas has got the potential for some kind of
they
run.
do, but I would call them fifth out of those the other top four teams are better than Vegas.
They're in first in their division.
Yeah, but I'm saying I would pick those other four. If I had to put money on it, Vegas wouldn't even make those top four. They're not top four in the West.
You mentioned something, and can we switch gears for a second here?
Yeah.
So
Triple Dog Dare.
You mentioned Dustin Wolf. So Dustin Wolf is I've been talking about Dustin Wolf for the Calder, and Macklin Celebrini is a next level superstar. Not a superstar. He's a next level player. He's going to be a superstar. He is so good. But I think for me, we've been talking about Dustin Wolf and the Calder, and for me, he'd get my first place vote watching this guy game in and game out. So here's my question: does Dustin Wolf get a Vezina vote this year? Does anybody vote for him in the Vezina race? Because he's carried Calgary this year. Calgary's in a playoff spot, or was in a playoff spot, for one reason, because of Dustin Wolf. And the team's been scrappy, but they don't have a player that's going to get 60 points this year. They don't have a player that's going to score 30 goals. Maybe Kadri does it. Maybe Huberdeau does it. Maybe, but on the pace they're on right now, they're not going to have a 30-goal scorer. Dustin Wolf has been lights out for this team. And are we done talking about Calder, and are we now talking like this kid could get a Vezina vote this year? I'm not saying he's going to win the Vezina. I don't think it's going to happen. But does somebody out there say, I'm voting for this kid?
Yeah, you're like top three, kind of like he'd be like, you get Hellebuck, you get whoever else you want to put in there, and then Wolf has a third vote kind of thing. I think so. You know what I mean? Like, the kid's played great. You know what I mean? It's almost like a Vezina Hart kind of thing. He's like most valuable player on their team, and that happens to be a goalie who happens to be a rookie. Like, wow. You know what I mean? Right. So yeah, I say Calder for sure, and I would say he gets some votes.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm with you.
And I don't think so. Again, I don't think he's winning. I don't think he's going to win the Calder. I think it's going to Celebrini. I think that was predetermined. Like, Celebrini was going to win no matter what, no matter who did what. But I've seen Macklin Celebrini play. Wow, this kid is special. Like, he is so good. But again, it's the question: does he get a vote or two? And if he does get a vote or two, how does that do for his confidence? Because his confidence is probably pretty high right now. He looked ordinary against Toronto. He looked kind of ordinary against Colorado, but he's looked very, very good in a lot of games this year. So anyways, you brought up Dustin Wolf, and love to pump this guy's tires. Like, this is a guy that, if I was, again, if I'm voting for Vezina, I'm probably voting for Hellebuck. Like, that's probably where my vote goes. But if I got to choose 1, 2, 3, he'd get my third vote.
He'd get one of them.
He'd get one of them. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing with Hellebuck is there's a goaltender coach. He played for the Rangers, Steve Valakat. He has his company, and he has some of the most amazing stats on goaltenders. And I listen to him on a radio show, and he goes into like highest save percentage in high danger moments, which goalies have costed their team more goals or lost games for. And he went on, and you know who that player was that he talked about? Hellebuck.
No.
Hellebuck's lost more games for the team than any goalie in the top 10. And I was like, what? But the stats he had, he went on to show, and I was blown away. You know what I mean? So as much as Hellebuck is playing what seems well, I think the team's playing great in front of him. So it's not always just about the goalie. So that started making me think something about it. But you got to look up Steven Valakat. Got to go to his website and check out all the crazy advanced stats this guy has. Amazing. I think more and more people need to listen to what this guy's saying. Super, super smart guy. And every time I listen to him, I get smarter. So the guy's super smart at that point, right? I learned so much from listening to this guy. Like, I was blown away with the stuff that he comes up with. So I'm going to go and spend a ton of time listening to his podcast and go through. And when I get it, I'll share it with you. It's amazing, the stuff that this guy comes up with. Innovative. Awesome. Yeah.
Love that. I love cerebral hockey players. Love seeing smart hockey and guys who, their brains are working at the same speed as their feet are. Like, love that. Love to see those guys that just, it's so impressive to see that happen, because I remember playing hockey, and like, I loved playing hockey. I was a bigger guy, and I usually ended up in front of the net, and my role was a little, like, that was kind of my role playing, and I wasn't so much a sniper, or I wasn't dangling, like, I wasn't walking a lot of defensemen every game, but I would get in front of the net in the mixer and cause a bit of a problem. Those are not cerebral roles in hockey, and you just got to stand there, just bouncing pucks off you. Yeah, a lot of respect to those guys who see and think, and they can see the play develop and where things are moving, and love that. Well, hey, I think we've talked about a lot of stuff, and we have had a heck of a podcast this week, and appreciate what you guys have had to say. Craig, love that you're on the show again, and love to have you back.
Thanks. This is great. Yes.
Yeah, I love this. We've got a lot of channels for you to connect with us on: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, on Riverside,
Podbean.
Podbean. Say Instagram? Did I say TikTok? Did I say all those things?
Yes.
All the different ways that you
might have.
All the different ways you can connect with us. We'd love to hear your comments, and I love engaging with everybody on the comments section as well. And I think that's all I've got. Big game tomorrow, Toronto and Calgary.
I'm calling a Toronto win in overtime. So that way Calgary gets a point. Toronto gets 2.
I'd love to see Calgary get in the playoffs. I don't think that's probably not good for my bank account if they do make it, because I'm obviously going to have to go to a game.
Obviously,
but we'll see what happens.
Love it,
folks. Have a great week. Thanks, boys. We'll talk to you soon.
See you there.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hockey Huddle and hanging out with us through all the slap shots, big hits, and highlight reel plays. Whether you're a diehard fan or just getting into the game, we appreciate you being part of our hockey family. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and hit us up on social media with your thoughts, questions, or hot takes. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep your stick on the ice, your head up, and we'll catch you in the next period. Take care, everyone.